And I'm like, look, anybody who says anything political about this shit is really stupid. This is the same pattern we've been going through since we were little kids. Republicans come in, that's the guys, they're Republicans, quote unquote, right? They spend all this money, and all these rich people get money, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. They make a whole bunch of money, and they know that if there's anything you want to get away with, you get away with it now. And then after they've gone too far, they elect a Democrat. And then the Democrat's job is to basically clean up the mess, keep it calm, but don't do too much. Don't give too much to these people. Don't start changing stuff. Don't do different stuff and everything. Play your position and you'll be fine. And then it goes back, it swings back the other way. Okay, it's time to spend this money. And we spend the money and they spend all that money. And it's cyclical. The only thing political about that is the title of the people, because they're all working together towards that end. There's not one group that's working against the other group. It's not this fantasy thing where all these people are, where like one side is making it horrible and the other side is making it like better. It's the same fucking side. They're the same people.
It's all the same paradigm. Like they're both working within the same model. So you can only go but so far. Like everybody, whether you're an R or you're a D, you're only cutting the defense spending but so much. You may say that you're about healthcare or whatever, but you're only going so far. You know.
And they all. Everybody, man, everybody, whew, boy, everybody, few exceptions, the majority, 99% of U.S. citizens represent the same religion.
What religion is capitalism? Yes.
And that's who our leaders have always served. They've served the fundamentals of that religion.
So
everything is about the dollar, and so that's why everything is smoke and mirrors. That's why everything is cyclical, as you say, because it's always about the dollars. I don't understand how you have 250 years of getting rich. Is not enough.
So here's the continuation of the conversation, because we're talking about exactly that, capitalism, because that's what it's all about. It's all about capitalism, the big C word. Okay, so he's like, well, you can complain all you want. Gas is still going to break your shoes. They're still going to break your shoes on taxes. They're still going to break your shoes on everything that's relevant and everything, and it's not going to change. And I'm like, nah, well, that's where you're wrong, because every great civilization has thought that it was not going to change. And every great civilization is always keeping their eye on one thing. In this case, it's like the black community, the Latin community, the poor communities, making sure that these guys don't come up unattached, unencumbered, without principles. Hell, even to the point where the system now, they've got the educational system now set up to weed these kids out by the time they get into fourth grade. Fourth grade is like the pivotal time. And to have that conversation, we would have to have someone who's better versed in education than me on. But when it was broken down, I had this conversation first thing in the morning at my client's house out in Queens today. And it was just like, even for me, it was like it was like, because then you see it. But eventually what happens is that these things always change. And it never comes from a place where people think it's going to come from. It never does. It's always something different. So I think there's a lot of arrogance going on with the top of the world. And it's not really about money right now. It's really more about keeping power. These people are afraid of losing power. That is basically what it is. They were scared shitless at having to share some restaurants with people. They didn't want that. So now they're just like, they're making sure that shit never happens again. All this stuff never happens again. But they're making mistakes because your people are the only thing that keeps it going. So it's like, I think AI might be the thing that actually takes us all down. I really do.
AI technology is scary. I was reading something the other day, and you can tell me how you feel about this, but the guy who claims that one of the Rockefellers clued him in to some game, in that the feminist movement was funded heavily by the Rockefeller foundation. And the reason that they did that is because, one, you could tax the other half of the population. At that point in time, basically, women were not in the workforce, so half the population was not getting taxed. So you put them into the workforce, you can now tax them. And two, you get them out of the home and you disrupt the family structure. You get the kids into school, because school is an early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s creation. You get the kids into school where you can indoctrinate them to make them machine parts and separate the family and sort of take away the foundation of the society.
And I think we see that actually we've actually seen it come into play. Like we talk about, this is not even a conspiracy theory. These are really discussing things that have actually happened and that actually happen every year. But it's all hidden behind these messages and these groups that you get behind. You can't go to a Democratic fundraiser and have conversations about free market, honestly, and everything and what it should be and how it should work without stepping on some people's toes somewhere along the line, thinking that it's not fair. This whole theory of fairness is off. Fair used to be, let me get 30-minute lunch and 2 15-minute breaks during the course of a day. People didn't have that. That wasn't something that was these people, you look at Amazon. Amazon has actually turned the clock back. They're using 1930s, 1920s, 1930s, hey, be happy you have a job type of philosophies. And they're rolling those things out. We've actually rolled backwards. And we've rolled backwards with very little pushback. Because half of the country says,
Ronnie.
Huh? Yeah, boy Ronnie, yeah, Ronnie Reagan.
You, Ron.
Ronnie Reagan.
You, Ron.
Right. But the pushback with people talking about those Amazon jobs comes more from people who say, well, you should get a better job.